Alright, problem number 9, Sprocket. So let's draw this puppy. And again, I may not draw it exactly in the video the exact same way it's laid out in the PowerPoint, but again, it doesn't matter as long as you draw. So we start with our title block. After we do that, we do a cancel. We do a save as, and it's going into our drive, into that ACAD folder, and this one becomes problem number 9, Sprocket. And this one's a little more complicated, so we may have to break this one out over 2 or even 3 possibly videos. So here we go, start off. So the first thing I do is I want to look at the drawing and try to figure out what I'm going to do. So if I'm drawing, this sprocket here, I know I need to know a couple of things. I know I'm dealing with a circle, 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 looks like a square, rectangles. I'm looking at these edges where there are lines, there's an arc, etc. So I kind of have to look at this and think, if I'm drawing this by hand, again, what would I need to know? In this particular case, I know I've got to have my center points. I got to have all of that before I even try to draw circles. So that's the first thing I'm going to do, is I'm going to draw the centers. Then I'm going to do something simple, like I'm going to go ahead and draw what sometimes lovingly term is the frog eyes here at the top. I'm going to go ahead and draw those and get that all done. And then we get to the teeth part of the sprocket. And so I'm going to show you and take you through the steps to draw this, and then I'm going to show you how to use your viewports as more than just a singular viewport, so that you can get more detailed information. Because remember, we draw a model space, we bring it over as a viewport into paper space, and then we put it in there and we dimension there. We do not dimension in model space. All right, let's just start off by drawing some center lines. And again, I am not really caring where I start or even how long they are. I do, however, I'm going to hit F8 so that it goes the right direction here. I do want it to be nice and perfectly ortho. I'm just drawing something to get me started. And if I look at the drawing, the middle part for where the eyeballs go has a radius of 8. Paying attention to my snap. There we go. All right, and I'm going to hit F8 to turn ortho off. All right, now I need the lines coming up to get the next point for those eyeballs. And if I look at there, I notice it's got a dimension of 45. So I'm going to start that. Now this is one of those times where the dynamic input is our friend. So I'm going to hit F12, turn it on. And I'm just going to move it to the outside. I'm not really caring about how far out it is, because I'm going to go back and trim it later. But I do care about the angle. So I hit this tab key on my keyboard. It tabs me over to the angle, and I can hit 45, enter, enter again. Enter, because that draws a line coming in again, the direction I want to go, move it this way just so this outside, tab key, 135, because 90 plus 45 is 135. So I have all of my center points now. Let's draw some eyeballs. I know that sounds so goofy, but, well, I don't know how else to describe it. It's the easiest way for students to remember. Okay, we're going to have a radius of 2. We have 3 of them. Just make sure we snap to the right place. Inside has a diameter of 2.13. Okay, we can do that. Oh, no. And again, pay attention. Something doesn't look right. Trust your instincts and do it again. Don't just assume that it's right because you typed something in. If it doesn't look right, stop and go back. See, I did it again. I don't know what it doesn't like about that particular one. Okay, and I could type in the 8 again, or I can just simply click to click. Sometimes I find it easier just to go point to point. All right, let's do some trimming. So select trim, spacebar. And I'm going to go ahead and get rid of it down here, because I know I'm not going to need it down there in a minute. I'm going to get rid of it here. And I'm actually going to go back and erase that little part that's left over. Escape to be done. Click, 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 delete. So I kind of see that part, right? And I kind of see my visible lines there for that top part. All right, next is, all right, let's draw a couple other things. Like, I know I'm missing my little circle down here. So let's go draw that next. Whoa, escape, stop trying to do a window for whatever reason. It's got a radius, circle with a radius. from the midpoint. Radius for that is 5. Oh no, I drew it on the wrong layer. Don't freak out. Select the object and change it to center. It's real hard, right? And trim, spacebar. And erase. Okay, good. Okay, good. Visible is the current layer. That circle has a diameter of 2.13. All right, now let's go ahead and do the keyway. So let's zoom in on this area here. So I'm going to start off with this circle, and I know that this circle has a diameter. So I'm just going to do that first, a 4. Now I need to get the keyway, so I kind of have to look at my exploded detail and look at it, and then I notice that the keyway says, all right, that it has a line that starts from here, the top of the circle, up 0.375, and then each way 0.75. So if I do a little math and I take 0.75 and divide it in half, I find out that that's actually 3.75. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a line, and I'll just hit the tab key and 0 because I just want it over there, and I'm going to extend it because I find it easier than, again, drawing a line. So I want it both ways, both sections. Okay, and then I'm going to offset 0.375. So I'm going to take this line I just drew, offset it up 0.375, and I'm going to take the center line and offset it 0.375 each ways, because if you add those together, they total up to 0.75. Trim, spacebar, the parts that need to go bye-bye. And the more you use AutoCAD, the more you're going to realize that it's actually more editing tools than it is drawing tools most of the time. Everybody always finds that interesting, but it's true. There we go. Don't need that. You don't need these. Delete them. Delete them. And then don't forget to change this from the center to visible. Okay, so we've got the eyeballs, we've got the keyway, and now we need to get the gears, the teeth of the gears. So let's zoom in on this side over here. I'm just going to start on the left-hand side, and I'm going to look at it. So look at the detail, and it tells me that overall the thickness, each one of the gears is 1 inch. So I know I can offset it up half to get that perfectly. So let's go offset 0.5, and I'm going to offset that center line up and down 0.5 because total will give me a width of a half. And I'm going to go ahead and turn it to visible layer, just make it a little easier because we have zoomed in on this because we're just working on this one part. Okay, and then I look and I see that it's got these funny the little curved arc here in the middle. So I need to know how far out does that go. So there's a radius of 11. So let's zoom out a little bit. I'm going to draw a circle with the radius. And see, it started in the wrong spot, so let's do it again. There we go. And just type in 11 and hit enter. Because now I can trim and do a little, because I know it's going to end there. It's going to end there. I know I'm not going to need a little teethy there. Oops, I forgot to trim this part here. And now let's erase some stuff we needed. So I only needed that circle so that I would know where the line went in. I only need that part to offset to get the original depth, so I no longer need it now. Okay, so now I need that last little part. I need the little arc here. So we need to draw an arc where we know the start, the end, and the radius. So we want it to start here, we want it to end here, and I'm actually going to hit F12 to turn the dynamic input off because sometimes it interferes with that part. And it has a radius of 2. Ta-da, there it is. So there's our first one. Now we could try to go through this process and find every single one of these angles and then repeat that process of drawing it, or we can use our friend the polar array. Remember that one little tool that we used back on the circles? Well, we're going to use polar array. So we know we have one gear drawn. We're just going to array the rest of the gear around. So I'm going to go to array, parts of the gear that we need. Just clicking on my mouse, hit enter because that's all I want. Then you're going to pick your center point of display here, and then we have to count the number of teeth. So I count them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There's 13 of them. So there's 13 items. But I don't want them going all the way around. I only want them to go around the bottom. And if that looks good, I say yes, and we are good. All right. Ta-da, that's exactly what I want. Now, sometimes you may find you will have to extend, not always, but if it won't trim here in a minute, you may need to extend it. And why can't I extend it? Well, because I forgot. You have to explode it to be able to extend it. So sometimes you may find that it won't trim, and if that's the case, do an extend, and then after you do the extend, go back and trim, and that forces it to for sure do what you need it to do. Because what I don't want is I don't want to see that center line right here, because what I'm going to do is after I get rid of this, I'm going to turn those into the visible layer so they create that part of the drawing for me. And same thing, I just look here and get rid of it there. So anywhere I don't need it, once I get done, hit escape, grab all of them, and change them to visible. After we do this, our next step will be to add it as a viewport and to dimension it in there. So, believe it or not, you've actually done really the hardest part of the drawing. Once you've done this part here. Okay. And zoom out. All right, let's clean up our center lines a little bit here. I'm just going to offset them. I'll just take the 0.5 again. Because I'm just going to delete these after I've offset them anyways, because all I'm doing is that to give me a point where I can trim. Trim, spacebar. Remember, spacebar is like a select all. There it goes. And reverse extend for this last part here, extend it out. There we go. And then just erase that sucker. Sometimes when you select on it and you hit delete, you may have to hit the delete key more than once, so don't panic. Because I just do those so that I could have a good way to have a nice uniform extension for my center lines. Okay, our next step is we want to get this into the title block as a viewport. So for the first way, I'm going to do it like I normally would. Got a border. Remember, don't just change the color, make sure you're changing it to the right layer. There it goes. Layout, rectangular, rectangular, corner to corner. For this one to fit though, a 1-to-1 or even a half-to-1 is not going to work. So click on it here, left click to activate, right click properties. We want to have a scale of 0.25, which is a 1-to-4 scale. And let's look at our L2 scale again. And this is one of those times where you may want to use like 1, escape. So play with that to get it the way you want. All right, next I'm going to show you how to get the next viewports in and how to dimension the sucker.